Hello and welcome to the GameDev Outpost. In this video, we're going to continue talking about blueprint interfaces. We'll cover construction scripts, overlap events, and interface inheritance. So say that you were given the task to create a reveal system, and it also needs to work as a debug for development and testing. This is something that inherited interfaces could help us with. Inherited interfaces are when we have a blueprint that has an interface, and then we make children of that blueprint. This can help us architecturally and reduce tech overhead. Let's jump into an example. So the first thing we need is a blueprint interface. So we will right click, go to blueprints, blueprint interface, and we're going to call this BPI Reveal. And we'll go ahead and open that up. And we'll just call this FN Reveal. And we are going to make this a function. Not an event, but a function. So for now, we will add an output that maybe we'll use down the road, but we want to utilize it as a function. So let's save this and compile. And now let's go and create the object that we want to reveal. So I'm going to right click, I'm going to create a blueprint class, and we're going to call this an actor. And this will be our BP Revealable. And we're going to open this up. We're going to do two things. In our class settings, we're going to add our interface, our implemented interface, our BPI reveal, and we are going to add a static mesh. And we will compile and save. And we are also going to set up in the construction script what we want to set that static mesh to. So we will drag this out, and we will choose set static mesh, plug that in, and we will promote our new mesh to be mesh. And we'll make this visible, and we will compile and save. So let's go take a look at what we have so far. We have this actor that we can place, and we can set the mesh to something like a cube, and we can see that cube up here. The next thing we need is for our function to toggle the visibility. So back in our BP reveal, in our blueprint interface function, we're going to double click this, and we want a way to toggle the visibility. And for right now, I want to do this based on a character's transform. So we're going to go to the interface and add a transform, and then we're going to set up our pseudo character. So we will open up our BPI reveal, and we are going to add an input. And we will just call this transform, and we'll change this to be a transform, and we will save and compile. And now let's go set up our pseudo character. We will right click, and we're going to create this from an actor, and we will call this BP Revealer. Right, you can think of this as a player character, whatever you want. But we're going to go ahead and open that up. And we are going to set this up in the construction script to begin with. So in the construction script, we are going to call our BPI reveal, our FN reveal function from our interface. Now we need to get our target. So I'm going to look for get all actors with interface. And the interface we're looking for is our BPI reveal. And then we are going to promote this out actor to a variable. And we'll just leave this as out actors. And then we will plug this in. And we are going to drag out our out actors. And what's nice is even though this is an array, we can still hook this up to our function. So we can just put this in the target. Now the next thing we need is our transform. So we will get a reference to self, and we will get actor location, or transform. We'll do transform. So we have all of the information, and now we can save and compile, and we can go ahead and drag that out. Now we have our two components, our character that wants to reveal something, and we have our actor that wants to be a revealable. But we don't have any functionality yet. So let's come back to our BP revealable. And in our function, we want to use this transform to determine if it's visible or not. So we are going to get our static mesh to begin with, and we are just going to set visibility. And the first one is going to be true, and then we're going to copy this and paste it down here. And the second one is going to be false. So based on this transform, we're going to compare it to the transform of this actor. So we will actually split this struct, and we will base this on the location, and we will do an equal to, and we are going to get actor location, and we're going to plug this in. Now, what's convenient here is with this vector comparison, we also get a tolerance. So let's promote this to a variable, and we will call this tolerance, and we'll make this visible. And by default, let's set this to 100. And now we need the branch based on this situation. So we will branch this, and this will be a reveal input. And if they're equal within the tolerance, we'll make it visible. If they're not, then we'll make it not visible. And we will return this. Let's save and compile, and let's take a look at what we have. So since it's based in the construction script, this isn't going to update right away. But if we move this, we see that it goes invisible. Now, if we try and put this actor over top of it, it's reveal. This is great. Now let's go ahead and add a little more functionality, and then we'll talk about inheritance. So in our BP revealer, we want to add a sphere collision, and we want to turn on, we want to make sure visible is on and hidden in game is off. We will save and compile that. And in our BP revealable, we're going to add a box collision, and we will save and compile that. And in our construction script for a revealable, we want to set our collision, and we want to set this to be our tolerance. So by default, our box collision is 32 by 32 by 32. We actually don't want that. We want it to match up with our box. So we want this to be 50 units by 50 units by 50. And what this is going to do is it's going to give us 50 in each direction from the center. So it gives us a meter overall. So by default, it's set to 50. And then we will set scale, set relative scale 3D. And we are going to set this to our tolerance. Get tolerance, and we will plug this in. It'll do a little conversion, and we will save and compile. And by default, this is set to 100. That's going to be really big. Basically, this is giving us meters, and we want to go and select our object in the viewport just to test this out. If we look at our tolerance, if we set this to 1, we can see that our collision shows up, right? So this is set up to be a meter. 1 is a meter. And if we grab a revealer, we're going to see that this is no longer working. And that's because our tolerance in the revealable in the function is incorrect. So this is set up to be a meter, but in our function, this is set up to be 1 centimeter. So we want to multiply our tolerance by 100. And now this will be a meter to meter. Let's save and compile, and we'll just double check. And it's revealed. Pretty convenient. And if we go ahead and grab our mesh, and we make this, I don't know, 10, or let's make it smaller, 2, we can test our precision here. Bringing it to the edge here, just popping it out. So I think in this case, I forgot that multiplying it by 100 isn't correct. We want to multiply it by 50 because it's 50 in each direction. So we'll save and compile. And now, there we go. So this is working within our tolerance. All right, so we have something functional in the construction script. So this is good for debugging. Definitely one of the tasks that we wanted. So now we want to be able to make a few different children of this because they want to have something different going on. We want to go ahead and right click on our BP Revealable, and we're going to create a child blueprint class. And you can call this whatever you want. It could be BP. I like to call it BPC. This will be something simple, cube. And we'll create another one. We will create child blueprint, and we'll just call this BPC sphere. So if we go ahead and drag these out, let's see if all the functionality is still there. So we have our cube, right? We need to set a mesh. We'll set this to, we'll make this a cube. All right, so we have our cube. And our tolerance by default, we accidentally set it to 100. Let's set this to 1 or 2. There we go. All right, so that's working. And if we grab our sphere, we'll drag this out. Our tolerance is set really high. We'll set that to 2. And we will change this to a sphere, the mesh. We'll just make this the control rig sphere. And let's see if we grab our BP revealer. They all disappear. And they all show? They all show. Perfect. So they're still working. Now, this is where we talk about the inheritance. And it's important to note. So we created the children from the revealable, and they work just as they are. Now, if we were to go ahead and open up our BPC cube, and we go and look at our class settings, we will see that this has an inherited interface. And not only that, but we have our FN reveal in here. Now, if we go in here and we do something like, let's just add print string, and we save and compile, and now we go and take a look, we can see that our cube is broken. It's not working anymore. So the thing to note with all of this is that it's very convenient to pass down functionality. But if you override it, it's going to destroy the previous functionality. The functionality won't be there. So say that you did end up using this function. All you need to do is come in and delete the function, and it will revert it back to inheriting the function. Now, maybe there are situations where you do want to override it and you don't want the explicit functionality. You can do that, but it might get confusing as you continue scaling your project. And this is exactly the same if you were using an event from your interface. It'll work as inherited unless you override it. So far we've covered the functionality to make these work as a construction script, right? We can go ahead and test these and they work, right? But if we go ahead and hit play, they don't work, right? So there's a little more functionality for us to set up. In our revealable, we actually want to make sure that this isn't hidden in game so that we can see it, right? We're going to save and compile that. And now we want to do some work on our player, right? So our revealer. So we're going to come to our event graph, and we're going to make our character move. And from how it's set up, we're going to make it move on the X in the negative direction. Or we just make it easy. We'll make it work in the X positive. So in our event begin play, we are going to right click and we're going to do add actor world offset. And the target is going to be self. And we need to choose how many units we want to push it forward. So on the X, we're going to choose, let's say it's 5 units, right? 5 centimeters. And we want to control how often this happens. So we will set a delay. And we'll set it to 0.3. And we'll plug in our event begin play. So this will trigger, and then we'll do this on completion, and we will just loop this back. And now this is going to happen forever. And let's go see if that's working. Go ahead and hit play. And we can see that it's moving. And maybe we'll just put this a little bit closer. Right, so it's in line. We'll line all these up. And maybe we'll make this just a little bit faster. And we'll move a little bit more. 15, save, compile. Hit play. It's a decent speed. It's a little slow. We'll make it a little faster. Why not? Make this 20 units, 25. Sure, that'll do. And now we want to trigger our reveal function on overlap. So we need our event actor begin overlap, and we also need actor end overlap. We need both of these. And we are going to get the actor that we're overlapping with, and we're going to go to other actor. We want does object implement interface. So we're going to test if it implements the interface. And if that's true, we're going to branch. And if that's true, we are going to promote this to a variable. And this will be our actor begin. And we will call our function reveal. So when we overlap, we're going to reveal it. And now we're going to do the same thing for event end overlap. So we will copy all of this except for the actor begin. We're going to promote this to a variable, and this will be our actor end. And we'll rehook all this up. So if our object does implement the interface, we will set this so we can use it, and we will call reveal on it. And we'll set our interfaces to be our BPI reveal. And we will compile and save, and we'll test this out. But we'll notice that we still don't have any functionality. But when we hit play, we can pause this, okay? And we'll hide all of this. And we can go and look at our properties in our revealer. If we expose them, so we will have these exposed. We'll save and compile. So if we go ahead and hit play, and we pause this, we can look at our outliner here, and we can go and find our BP revealer, and we can look at the begin and end. So if we play, we can see that this gets the BP sphere. It leaves, it still has the BP sphere. Now it's the cube. And now it's the revealable. So this is working. Now we just need to pass the message correctly. So in our blueprint interface, we want to add another input. So we'll come to our function reveal, and we're going to add, and we'll call this Unhide, and we'll leave it as a Boolean. Make sure you save first and then compile, just in case it crashes. And after we're done crashing, we can go back to our character, our BP revealer, and we can pass in to unhide this or to hide it. So in our actor begin overlap, we're going to do unhide, and in our end overlap, we're going to do hide, right? True, false. And we'll save and compile that. And now we need to actually use that Boolean. So we'll go back to our revealable, and we want to pass in our condition. So instead of basing this off of the transform location, we're just going to pass in the unhide, just to get this started, get this tested out. So we'll save and compile. And now let's go test this out. So we'll hit play. And it's revealing. It's working. And now if we go and test our debug, right? We go over these, right? Our debug isn't working now. So if we wanted to make both of these work, unfortunately, we would have to add another Boolean of some sort in here to choose between these two, right? Do we want to do the transform location? Do we want to do the unhide? And there's a few other ways that we could sort this out, but I think this is a good start for a reveal system. You know, the way that these are set up right now, where you can just choose the meshes, right? There isn't really any different functionality between them, but you could add more functionality. All right, guys, if you thought this video was useful and it helped, please let me know by commenting down below and liking the video. Thanks, guys.